folks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are still continuing their search for their next offensive coordinator, and now their search takes them to a fellow NFC team. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers have scheduled to interview, completed to interview, something along those lines, current Detroit Lions assistant head coach and running backs coach Scotty Montgomery. I am not alone in this video. Joining me as always is my colleague over at MrBucsNation.com, the co-host of the Cannon Fire podcast and the main host of the Real to Real podcast, Mr. Evan Wanish. Evan, can you give us a little bit of info on what's going on with this situation right now?
The Buccaneers have interviewed Scotty Montgomery, the current Lions assistant head coach slash running backs coach. The interesting thing here, we can't really say, oh, he's from the Lions tree because he just a few days ago joined the Detroit Lions. So kind of an interesting situation where he may never even coach a single game for the Detroit Lions because the Buccaneers are showing interest. Now, maybe the Bucs weren't able to schedule an interview with him in time, and now they finally got to it. I don't know, right? I don't know those circumstances, but it's very interesting because when I was reading it, I was like, man, he just joined the Lions. I was like, and it literally happened a few days ago. So, a very interesting situation for sure.
Well, we'll talk about that in a moment, 100%. But taking a look at Scotty Montgomery, look, he is a former player. He was undrafted out of Duke in 2000. He hopped around to a lot of different teams, the Carolina Panthers, the Broncos, the Raiders, before he was eventually out of the league by 2003. After that, he really went and did a lot of different stuff as a positional type coach, Evan. He has been a wide receivers coach at the college level with Duke and then in the NFL with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Fun fact, which you pointed this out to me before we started recording, he was the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver coach from 2010 to 2012. That was whenever Bruce Arians was there as the offensive coordinator of the Steelers, correct, Evan?
Yes, I believe for at least 2 years there. I believe Bruce Arians was the offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so and I will say this, look, Scotty Montgomery does have previous experience as an offensive coordinator. He was the associate head coach and offensive coordinator, passing game, wide receivers coach at Duke from 2013 to 2015. So he's worn a lot of hats over there at Duke. He was also the head coach of East Carolina from 2016 to 2018, did some stuff for Maryland, was the running backs coach for the Indianapolis Colts from 2021 to 2022, and just joined the Detroit Lions in just a few days ago, Evan. So whenever you look at his credentials, it seems like he's worn a lot of hats and has done a lot of different things, both at the collegiate and the NFL level, correct?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely has. He has experience now. The thing that would concern me, and I understand being a head coach is much, much, much more different than being an offensive coordinator. However, East Carolina, it did not go well for him. He was fired, I believe, after 3 seasons. He posted a 9-26 record at East Carolina. And then after just 2 seasons of being the Maryland offensive coordinator, he was fired there as well. So it hasn't really been a great run in the college ranks for him. Besides, I mean, he did do some stuff at Duke, but and then obviously with the Colts, he was with the Colts for 2 years. And so, kind of lackluster years, but I mean, he's a running backs coach, so it's not like it's a huge indictment on him. And I mean, he was Jonathan Taylor's running backs coach when Taylor had a monster 2021 season. So maybe that counts for something. And then, yeah, like I said, just keeps getting interesting to me that I keep coming back to that just it's not like a few months ago, like it's literally days ago that he was joining the Lions coaching staff. So it's very, very funny.
Now, I will say this. Yeah, I like his credentials in some ways, right? The fact that he's done so many different types of things with running backs, with wide receivers, basically everything that you can do offensively for the most
And
part.
he's been an offensive coordinator before, not in the NFL level, but he's been an offensive coordinator before.
Multiple times with multiple different schools at the college level, and he was a head coach at the college level. I mean, that shows that this guy can be a leader, right, to a certain degree. So I don't mind the credentials, but like you said, there are some things that are concerning about it. His time at East Carolina is a bit the fact that he has been bouncing around a little bit. You're not even a little bit, a lot of bit in a decent amount of situations is a little concerning. But Evan, kind of the elephant in the room here, you said at the top of the video, this guy just joined a coaching staff as an assistant head coach and a running backs coach. He is certainly, what would you call it? Opportunistic type of gentleman. He is a certainly a guy who likes to keep his options open. I think that's a fair thing to say, right?
Yeah, I think so because this is like I said, if this were to happen, I'm not sure I've ever seen this quite before. It would definitely be a weird turn of events. But yeah, I mean, just literally days ago, and this is all of a sudden coming out. So I mean, we don't know the behind the scenes. The Buccaneers may have been working on getting an interview for him for a little bit now, and could only do it now. Maybe the Buccaneers knew that this was going to happen. The Lions, I'm sure they knew that this was going to happen. I'm sure they're not blindsided by this at this point. So we don't know the exact details, but just from the outside looking in, it is a little bit funny and just like crazy that like it's been days that this dude has been on the coaching staff. Probably hasn't even met with all the coaches yet that the Lions have, and he may already be out the door.
So yeah, that obviously raises a couple of questions. So this interview was conducted today, right? That is the report. It wasn't done a few days ago. There isn't like some vague time. Like this interview was done today on February 13th, right?
Yes, believe so. Yes.
So one, why would he take the Lions job? I don't know when this interview was scheduled, right? I'm not knocking the guy. Hey, ball out, King. Do whatever you want to do. But what weird timing, man. This is definitely one of the weirder timing situations with a coaching staff I think I've ever seen. And do you think that Scotty Montgomery taking that position with the Lions as an assistant head coach and the running backs coach over there in Detroit, is that going to hamper the situation at all?
Um, I don't think so because I feel like if he was really committed, he could have just said no. Like he could have just told the Buccaneers no. Now again, I mean, just like you said, perhaps this was already scheduled. Like perhaps, but in that case, if it was already scheduled, do you think maybe he would have told the Lions no? I don't know, or maybe he's a smart guy and knew that there was no guarantees he was getting the offensive coordinator job in Tampa, so he wanted a fallback option. Who knows? Because obviously, if he doesn't get the offensive coordinator job in Tampa, he already has a job. Like he still has a job. So um, I don't really think it would hinder uh, his chances per se. And I also don't think he would decline it because to me, like, I mean, he could have just said, I just joined this job. Like, I'm good, and he didn't. So,
Yeah, one thing I wonder about too is with the Colts, they still have, I mean, they are zeroed in basically on a candidate, I believe, for their head coaching position. What was there a possibility he was going to stay on the Colts coaching staff as well? Was that something that maybe held up this process? I don't know, man. There's a lot of factors I feel like that go into this that we probably don't know about, but really weird timing, right? This guy has just been on the Lions coaching staff for a few days, Evan, like you said, and he's already looking at some other opportunities, which hey, again, kind of it's interesting, right? You can't say it isn't. And I think that I would say that Scotty Montgomery is one of the more qualified candidates out of the batch right now, Evan, in terms of play calling experience, former head coach as well at the collegiate level. Do you think so as well?
yeah, I mean, it's tough to balance because is he one of the more qualified ones? Yes. But he also hasn't had a ton of success. Like that's the thing that I get hung up on. Like he hasn't had a ton of success there. His two biggest roles at East Carolina and at Maryland, he was fired from both. So he definitely has experience and he has, like you said, many different roles, but it's just the success hasn't really followed him. So that's something I would be a little bit concerned about.
So, folks, we'll see what's going on with Scotty Montgomery. No second interview planned right now. At this rate, who knows, man? The Bucs, they've been taking some weird paths so far. I think that's safe to say. I mean, again, they're taking their time, which is fine, but man, a lot of weird timing with some of these things. Guy like Thomas Bryant gets a second interview, days after his first one. Now he's off to Carolina to go interview with them. Or I believe the second interview is scheduled to take place tomorrow. Is that correct, Evan?
Thomas Brown, I believe it's Wednesday. I believe his interview is scheduled to take place on Wednesday. Yes.
Okay, so Thomas Brown, I said Thomas Bryant. Words are hard, names are hard. But Thomas Brown, Going to get a second interview on Wednesday. Now they're interviewing Scotty Montgomery. Weird things, weird timings and whatnot. But folks, let us know what your thoughts and opinions are on Scotty Montgomery here. Do you want him to be the next offensive coordinator of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, or do you still prefer some other options that are out there, like a guy like Thomas Brown, or possibly maybe a Todd Monken who's still maybe out there? We'll talk about that in a separate video, or some of the other guys we've interviewed like Dave Canales, Shea Tierney, and some of the other names. Let us know your thoughts and opinions. We'd love to hear them. Go check out Evan's work over at BucsNation.com, the Cannon Fire podcast, and the Real podcast as well. Anyway, folks, thank you all so much for watching this video. Hope you all enjoyed, and we will see you all in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.